Next, we will hear for the candidates for the Lehigh Acres Fire Control District. And first up is Jeff Byrne.
Good afternoon. My name is Jeff Byrne, and I stand before you today, the current chairman of the Lehigh Acres Fire Control and Rescue Service District. Next month, I will celebrate 27 years of proud public service as a firefighter in Lee County. 27 years. 4 years ago, you entrusted me with your vote to come on board and be part of the board of the Lehigh Acres Fire Control and Rescue Service District. At that time, we developed a vision. We developed a vision to increase services to the fine folks of Lehigh Acres. And I'm proud to stand here and tell you today that we have done just that. You have more ambulances on the road. You have 2 brand new fire stations built and paid for. We've increased our staffing to meet the growth of our fine community. And we've done so specifically the past 2 years. We have been below the rollback rate significantly. We've reduced the budget $10 million. We've saved for a rainy day. Your services are safe, they're sound, and we are going to continue to provide you the best level of service that Lee County has to offer when it comes to a special taxing district and your fire service. I humbly ask your support on November 4th. Please vote for Jeff Byrne, and please continue our vision. Thank you.
Next up is Mr. Whitey Deutsch.
Hi, my name is Whitey Deutsch. I'm a 27-year resident of Lehigh. I agree a lot with what my opponent says, but I also feel that the department should be run like a business. It's a $27 million operation. I feel that the fire board are the CEOs of a major corporation. Right now, all agencies are cutting every which way they can to save money. But now I find out we have a big expense in Lehigh at the fire department. We have a PIO, a personal information officer, who's costing every taxpayer in here $100,000 a year. To tell you there was a fire last night in Lehigh, that's ridiculous. We could put a starting EMT on at $45,000, a starting paramedic at $54,000. But Mr. Comer, our PIO, is getting $72,000. All I can do is ask you, what would you rather see? A trained fireman putting water on your house that's on fire, or someone in the background taking a picture of it? It's very easy. We all have to cut corners. A short while ago, there were 15 take-home vehicles. Mr. Comer had one too to Cape Coral every day, back and forth. That's cost money out of our pocket. We do have an excellent fire department. I wouldn't do anything to hurt it. But let me ask you this. Why is the outside interest so interested in keeping the 3 incumbents on the board? 2 firemen from Iona McGregor, and Mr. Adams also works for the state. If you saw in the paper last week, you see where all of this money for their campaign funding came from. That's right, the outside interest. I think there's a little bit of conflict of interest there, but that's another story. I would not do anything to harm the department. I can donate the time to it. Right now, there's 4 full-time members who work full-time jobs. I'm retired. I could put that time in, and I will do it. I will put my faith in myself and watch all your tax dollars, because right now, they are not being watched. Thank you very much.
And next up
The local dummy.
is Mr. Larry Becker.
The local dummy. How are you, local dummy? Let's step out here so the people can see. Really?
Good afternoon. My name's Larry Becker. I'm a 4-year resident of Lehigh Acres. I moved here from Nebraska, so if you see with a Nebraska hat on, that's why. I'd like to thank the Lehigh Acres Community Council, because otherwise I would not be able to get out in front of you folks and introduce myself and my ideas. Tammy Baker, all the work she did with calling us, making sure we all were here, what a great job she did. I'd also like to thank a couple other people. A couple of the people that helped me financially is Frank and Carol Cunias and Larry and Sissy Tuberville. Also, I'd like to thank my wife, who's sitting back in the trees back there in the shade, for putting up for me to try to do this little project. On my flyer, I came out and decided to run. I made some pledges. One of the pledges was to make fair, honest, and informed decisions with citizens of Lehigh Acres. We have presently almost $600,000 earmarked for a new fire truck. I would, before we look at that new fire truck, I'd look at going down and buying some quick response trucks. I talked to a number of builders, and they are busy building quick response trucks. It's the same apparatus, except it's small. It doesn't cost as much to run. It is quicker. That's why they call it quicker to get to an accident or to go along with the ambulances. I would look at that before we go out and spend the $600,000 for one truck. I'd look at these quick responses to see if it's feasible. It may not be, but it's an idea that we need to look at. I also think there's a number of monies being spent at the fire district that should be out for bids. Lately we put striping on the fire trucks. I question if that striping was quoted by more than one person. That's $46,000 is what we spent on the striping. But I think we should look at quotes on those type of things. I also am looking at trying to communicate what goes on with the fire department in a better way. They have a site, www.lehighfd.com. If you didn't know that it was there, please look at it. It needs some work. It's just a work in progress, but you can see the minutes of last meetings on there. I recommend that you go to these sites and see what's going on. If I become bored, I will also communicate with our news media. Let them tell you what we're doing. Those that don't have internet, they have the news media. I want to encourage our department to expand the public safety programs. We need to go to the schools. We need to go to the people. We need that education. We need to start a junior fireman program. Anybody that has 100 firemen definitely needs a junior program in our high schools. All these people that are in high school are not going to go to college. They need to know about the fire department. They need to know about the police department. I think the fire department should be there and help them get what they need. Last off, it's something that's really gotten my crawl. Whitey mentioned it. There is no special interest groups funding my campaign. I put my own money, my neighbor gave me $100, and Frank and Carol gave me $100. That's my money for my campaigning. The special interest groups, I do not have to answer to any of them. I'll be answering to the citizens of Lehigh Acres. And I want to be available to the citizens of Lehigh Acres that if you have a question, you contact me. I swear I will get you an answer. It may not be the answer you want, but I will get you an answer. I always had a little theory when I was working for the company I retired from, is if you bitch about a problem, help me out with an answer. Lastly, if elected, I will represent Lehigh Acres and those people in Lehigh Acres. Thank you for inviting me. Thank you for coming out in this heat.
Moving right along, Mr. Joel Guzman could not be here today because he is at a training class, so we will move on to David Adams.
My name's David Adams. I'm running for seat number 4 on the Lehigh Acres Fire and Rescue District. I'll let you know ahead of time, I'm not a political speaker, but I'd like to go over some of the issues that's been brought up. But as a point of clarification, it was brought up earlier, I work for the state, I work for the federal government with the National Park Service and the Big Cypress National Preserve. But to open the conversation, I'd like to bring up some of the issues that has been brought to the public's attention during this campaign, especially the one about the allocation of funds, donation of funds to candidates' campaign accounts. I think if you read the most recent article in the newspaper, you'll see why the union decided to donate money to a non-union candidate, and I'll leave it at that. All you have to do is read the article, and it's plain as black and white. Another issue we've discussed, or has been brought up, is the ambulance fees. We've been slammed saying that the board gave away $150,000 because we didn't vote to increase the ambulance fees. Well, there's a lot more to that story. That company that was contracted for a year for the ambulance fee billing took over in March 1st, and they came to us and made a pledge that they had the resources and the people that they could increase the non-insured accounts, people that had no insurance and had to pay the bill out of their pocket. Well, they took over March 1st. As of February, the last day of February, the fire district was doing the billing. They were bringing in 10.3% for non-insured accounts. This company has taken over the 1st of March, and they've only been able to get 3%. So they made sort of like they made a promise that they were going to raise the money, the funds coming in, and it hasn't showed up. And I brought some paperwork with me, just so I give you correct numbers. They wanted to raise the advanced life support $125. The basic life support $75, and advanced life support $50, plus add $2 a mile for an ambulance fee. But and these times, it's hard times for people in Lehigh and all over the country. Everybody can see what the economic situation is. And where I come from, you look out for your neighbors when it comes bad times. And I just couldn't support the idea of raising the ambulance fee for a family that has no insurance. And if they had to carry somebody to the hospital emergency room, they'd probably do it in their own car. But if they call an ambulance, they're in a serious situation. So they're going to get socked with a higher ambulance fee. Plus, when they get to the hospital, you got a god-awful emergency room fee, plus probably a hospital stay. Plus, they got to buy medications for whoever they carry there. So I just couldn't see adding that kind of cost on to a family that doesn't need that cost right now. And this company also wanted to set in a deal where they would have an annual increase on these fees, which I couldn't go for. So that's why I didn't support it. Maybe when economic times gets better, people have jobs, maybe I could see it, but not right now. The other issue was brought up was about the performance of the fire board. Well, as Commissioner Burnt stated, we've got 2 brand new fire stations with the equipment and fully staffed, a new fire truck on the way. We're expanding the program for fire prevention in the schools with the PIO officer. And we're adding 9 new firefighters to reduce the overtime cost. And your taxes won't raise this year. Okay. Just to make a point of it, Matlacha, Pine Island, those citizens got hit with a 14% increase. The lowest on the list was Bayshore with a 1.4%. But Lehigh Acres Fire and Rescue District wasn't on that list. So I'm asking for your support in November to re-elect me. And I'll try to do the best I can with all the information available. And I'm a taxpayer, property owner here in Lehigh. I pay high dollars for gas, insurance, and utilities. So I know what everybody's going through here. So I just want to say I hope I get your support in November, and thank you very much.
And the last candidate for Lehigh Acres Fire Control District is Mr. Robert Anderson.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Robert Anderson. It's real simple. The economy, how many people like the economy right now? No one does. Are you worried about the banks? Are you worried about the stock market, the ones that are playing the stock market? Look at Wachovia. It's failing. I'm going to give you an example here real quick. Our fire department has 4 bank accounts at one bank. One of those accounts has almost $5 million in it. If that bank fails, we will only have, right at the moment, $1 million to work with. Some lovely young lady asked me, that's been paying taxes here in Lehigh for 30 years, is the tax money that the fire department safe? My gut feeling is yes, but FDIC will kick in, the state of Florida will guarantee the funds, but the bank would have to be liquidated. Why do we have all our eggs in the same bank? Let me give you an example. East County Water Control District has authorized their financial officer to spread out their accounts and to justify multiple accounts and put their money in different funds. So something like that wouldn't happen to your tax money at the East County Water Control District. Why not do that for the fire board also? That scares me that the fire board hasn't done that in this economical times. Let's talk about this new fire truck, almost $600,000. I'm with Larry Becker. We need smaller attack vehicles that cost less money. We have almost a little over 100 people working for the fire department. Most of those are firemen. We need a vehicle when we have a big disaster in town, which we've had 2 of them. Most of us have had, that will be a command and a piece of equipment that will refresh them, will get them in air conditioning. You ever had bunker equipment on? It weighs about 150 pounds. It's hot, and they need some place to recoup for a second or so, then go back out and fight. That piece of equipment doesn't cost that much. It's about $100,000. Well, that's what kind of equipment we need in Lehigh. We don't need another fire truck. We need the smaller fire trucks to get through the traffic. Now, there's lots of issues with the fire department. I've raised it through the press. I will continue to raise it. I apologize to the people of Lehigh if they don't like the tactics. I am sorry about that. But the truth is the truth. The fire department needs help. And I hope that I will have your vote November the 4th. And my name is Robert Anderson. Thank you very much.
Now help me welcome to the podium Mr. Bo Turbeville.
Five things.
Good afternoon. Just want to make a couple announcements. As most of you may have seen or heard, the Lee County Sheriff's Department, along with a lot of community people, are going to start making a Weed and Seed program. Weed and Seed program is done by the Department of Justice, the United States Department of Justice, and what they do is the weed part of the program is to provide crime control and community policing, and then the seed part of it is to revitalize a certain area. The area that we're trying to target is the Leonard Boulevard, pretty much all the way to Alabama, and all that in between there and Lee Boulevard. It's really meant to try and find a way to revitalize that area, clean up a lot of the duplex areas and everything else. So something that's really been used plan for Lehigh Acres. That plan is now coming to fruition. The last town hall meeting for the final plan will be on the 30th of this month at my hotel in the Suites. You'll have the planners there, planning board will be there.
Take care. Have a good weekend.
You too.
See you later.
Thanks again. Always a pleasure being here, even if it's hot.
Yeah.
Good to see you. Monday, I think it's our next one.
My next one's at the parade in Cape Coral. The Columbus Day, yeah. I'm not sure what's next. Please. I'm not sure what's going on Monday.
I'm not sure either. I know there's something Monday on my calendar, but I'm not sure what it is.
The National Active and Retired Federal
yes,
Employees thing.
yeah.
10:30 in
Cape Coral.
yeah, Buddy Freddy's. I'll see you then. All right.
See you there.
Have a nice weekend. Relax a little.
Enjoy the parade. As long as we don't have Bert's sign in the shot. True. How about from this angle?
Yeah, this is probably good.
Make sure we're out of the shade of the tree there.
All right, go.
Okay, so today is still the 11th of October, and
Go home! Go home! No, go home now! Because you're part of the problem and she's part of the problem. Go home now! Your campaign man coming down and my wife about some kind of lawsuit that you have against me. According to your campaign man, you just said in front of everyone that my wife accidentally touched you. According to your campaign manager, you have a lawsuit against me.
Gotta take care of the important stuff, right? Food.
You want a free hamburger?
All right. Hopefully that's the kind of drama that this campaign will remain blissfully free from. It's interesting. You're seeing a real turn in tactics now. I wouldn't say the knives are coming out just yet, but certainly the claws are. I thought it was particularly interesting. The tactics that we're seeing in our race. I'll let you go ahead and watch the video footage to judge for yourself exactly what I'm talking about. Not that I'm complaining, mind you. You know, one of the things that is a constant theme here, and I hope it'll continue with our race, and it's hopefully something that we are also bringing to this race and this election, is the idea that democracy is a process, and it's a face-to-face, dirty, nasty process, but in the end it produces something worthwhile. And even though it can get down and dirty, we should make sure that we respect the office, that we respect each other as individuals, because we're all, you know, I think we're all shooting for the same thing, which is to make this district a better place, or to make whatever office we're shooting for a better place. Maybe some people aren't in the race for that, but that's not my place to judge. That's for the voters' place to judge. And so, you know, when we talk about Connie Mack being absent from these events, I think that that's a really valid criticism, because you see what goes on at these events. You see the way that it's a constant give and take. When one of us goes up there and speaks, the other is not necessarily adjusting his position, but adjusting his presentation and reacting. And sometimes it's a matter of, oh, this is strategy, I've got to come up with one better than him. And sometimes it's a matter of one of us might bring an aspect to the issue, or something that either the other didn't think of, or that the other didn't articulate well, or that one of us realizes is something we need to stress more. And that's the positive side. So when you see these politicians going after each other as individuals, when you see the dirty name calling, when you see the underhanded campaign tactics, keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. There's a better way to do this.